Welcome back to another deep dive into biblical Hebrew, where we uncover the linguistic treasures that transform our understanding of Scripture. Today we're exploring Ecclesiastes Chapter 1, examining 6 essential Hebrew words that unlock the theological richness of Solomon's profound meditation on life, meaning, and mortality. Ecclesiastes presents some of the most challenging and philosophically complex material in all of Scripture. The opening chapter introduces key Hebrew terminology that echoes throughout the entire book, establishing themes that have puzzled and inspired readers for over 2 millennia. By understanding these Hebrew words in their original context, we gain access to layers of meaning that often get lost in translation. Let's begin with the book's Hebrew title itself, Qohelet, spelled Qohelet and pronounced Qohelet. This fascinating word appears 7 times in Ecclesiastes and nowhere else in the Hebrew Bible, making it absolutely unique to this book. The term comes from the Hebrew root gahal, meaning to gather or to assemble people together. The et ending indicates a professional or habitual activity similar to how porche means merchant, one who trades habitually. So Qohelet refers to one who habitually gathers people together, perhaps for instruction or assembly. The Septuagint, the ancient Greek translation, renders this as Ecclesiastes, literally one who calls an assembly, which gives us our English title, Ecclesiastes. But here's where it gets interesting. The Hebrew original suggests something more nuanced than mere preaching. Rabbinical commentary in Qohelet Rabbah interprets this title as referring to Solomon's wisdom being gathered or collected from various sources. Just as one gathers people, Solomon gathered wisdom sayings and insights about life's deepest mysteries. The wordplay here is profound and ironic. Solomon, who gathered immense wealth, assembled vast armies, collected hundreds of wives and concubines, and accumulated more wisdom and experience than any person before or after him, becomes the great gatherer of life's observations. Yet ironically, all his gathering leads to the conclusion that life is hevel, vapor that cannot be grasped. The gatherer discovers that nothing can truly be gathered permanently. This brings us to our second crucial term, hevel, spelled hevel and pronounced hevel. If any Hebrew word has generated more theological discussion and debate, I haven't found it. Appearing 38 times in Ecclesiastes, this word has been traditionally translated as vanity. But that translation completely misses the richness of the Hebrew original. Hevel literally means breath, vapor, or mist, something visible but impossible to grasp. Picture your breath on a cold winter morning. You can see it, it's real, it has substance, but try to grab it, and it slips through your fingers. This creates a much more dynamic and nuanced metaphor than the static concept of meaninglessness or vanity. The famous opening declaration, Havel Havelim, HBL Hblim, uses Hebrew's superlative construction, literally vapor of vapors or breath of breaths. This grammatical structure, like Song of Songs or King of Kings, indicates the highest degree possible. Solomon isn't just saying life is meaningless. He's saying it has the ultimate quality of being visible, real, significant, but ultimately ungraspable and transient. Traditional Jewish interpretation, preserved in Qohelet Rabbah, often softens the apparent pessimism by suggesting that recognizing life's hevel quality leads to proper priorities. When Solomon says all is hevel, rabbinic sources argue he refers only to life under the sun, the material realm, while spiritual realities remain eternal and meaningful. Our third key term is amal, spelled amal and pronounced amahal. This word appears frequently throughout Ecclesiastes, describing human labor characterized by weariness, frustration, and burden. Unlike other Hebrew words for work like malacha or avodah, which can have positive connotations, amal specifically emphasizes the troublesome nature of human effort. The root meaning suggests both the physical act of laboring and the emotional burden it produces. When verse 3 asks about kol amalo, all his toil, the emotional weight implies not just work, but the anxiety, stress, and frustration that accompanies it. This isn't the joyful work of creation or the satisfying labor of craftsmanship. This is the grinding, wearying effort that characterizes so much of human experience. Comparative studies of Semitic languages show amal related to Arabic amila, meaning to work, and Aramaic amal, meaning to labor. But the Hebrew usage in Ecclesiastes uniquely emphasizes the troublesome nature of human effort. The Septuagint translates amal with mokthos, indicating painful exertion or hardship. The word amal, work, connects to our fourth key term, yitron, spelled yitervon and pronounced yitron. This word appears only in Ecclesiastes within the entire Hebrew Bible, making it as unique as Qohelet itself. Yitron comes from the root yatar, meaning to remain or to be left over, and carries clear commercial connotations of net profit after expenses. The crucial question in verse 3, Mah yitron la adam bekol amalo, literally asks, what's the profit margin for humanity in all their toilsome labor? This is a businessman's question applied to existence itself. Solomon, who engaged in international trade and accumulated vast wealth, uses economic terminology to examine life's ultimate value proposition. After all the investment of effort, energy, time, and resources, what's the net return? What lasting advantage do we gain? The Septuagint translates yitron as perissos, meaning surplus or abundance, but the Hebrew suggests something more precise. The remaining value after all costs are calculated. In ancient Hebrew contracts and business documents, similar terminology appears for net returns on investments. Throughout Ecclesiastes, Qohelet repeatedly returns to this question of profit and advantage. His answer is consistently pessimistic. There is no lasting yitron to human endeavors. Whatever temporary advantages we gain are ultimately lost to death, time, and changing circumstances. Our fifth crucial term is ruach, spelled rvha. This theologically rich word appears 389 times throughout the Hebrew Bible and twice in Ecclesiastes Chapter 1, demonstrating its remarkable semantic range from literal wind to metaphorical spirit. In verse 6, ruach clearly means wind in describing natural weather patterns. The wind goes toward the south and turns about unto the north. It turns about continually in its circuit, and the wind returns to its circuits. Here we see literal meteorological observation as part of nature's endless cyclical patterns. But verse 14 uses the phrase reut ruach, traditionally translated a striving after wind, or vexation of spirit. The Septuagint renders this as proeresis pneumatos, literally a choice of spirit, though most translations follow the more negative interpretation of futile pursuit. The theological significance lies in ruach's connection to divine breath and spirit throughout Scripture. Genesis 1:2 describes God's ruach hovering over the waters at creation. The same word that describes God's life-giving breath appears in Ecclesiastes to describe the futile pursuit of wind. This creates profound theological tension and wordplay. Human activities, animated by God's ruach, spirit, ultimately amount to chasing ruach, wind. The very breath that gives us life becomes symbolic of life's elusive meaning. Spiritual beings pursuing material goals are like trying to catch vapor with their hands. Finally, we come to the phrase tachat hashemesh, tahat hashemesh, pronounced ta-kat ha-shehmesh, meaning under the sun. This appears 29 times in Ecclesiastes, making it one of the book's most characteristic expressions and creating an important theological boundary. Tachat means under, beneath, or in place of, while shemesh means sun. Together, they create a metaphorical limitation. Everything visible under the sun's light represents the material, temporal realm, subject to the cycles and limitations Qohelet observes throughout the book. This phrase provides a crucial interpretive key. Activities, observations, and conclusions that apply under the sun may not apply to spiritual realities above the sun. This distinction helps explain how traditional Jewish and Christian readers could accept Ecclesiastes' seemingly pessimistic observations while maintaining faith in eternal values and divine purpose. Rabbinical interpretation consistently emphasizes this distinction. Qohelet Rabbah argues that Qohelet's negative conclusions about vanity and meaninglessness apply only to the material realm under the sun. Spiritual activities, Torah study, prayer, acts of kindness, transcend this limitation and produce eternal value that death cannot touch. These Hebrew words create an intricate network of meaning throughout Ecclesiastes. The interplay between hevel, vapor, ruach, wind and spirit, and tachat hashemesh, under the sun, establishes the book's philosophical framework. Human amal, toil produces no lasting yitron, profit, because all earthly endeavors partake of hevel's ephemeral nature. Understanding these terms transforms how we read Solomon's meditation. Rather than simple pessimism or nihilism, we find sophisticated theological reflection on the tension between human aspirations and mortal limitations, between the desire for permanence and the reality of change, between spiritual longings and material constraints. The enduring power of these Hebrew words lies in their ability to articulate universal human experiences while maintaining sufficient complexity to reward ongoing study. They speak to fundamental questions that every thoughtful person must eventually confront. What makes life meaningful? What survives beyond death? How should we invest our limited time and energy? Whether we accept Qohelet's conclusions or challenge them, his Hebrew vocabulary provides an enduring framework for honest reflection about human existence. These words continue to call contemporary readers into deeper engagement with life's most fundamental questions, demonstrating that the search for meaning itself represents a profoundly human and ultimately meaningful endeavor. Deep calls unto deep. There is more to the text than initially meets the eye. Like, share and subscribe and prepare to go deeper.